And now the final political blow could be delivered against Comrade Kamala. Good morning, Kuhner country. Okay, my friends, the Obamas made their return, at least in public. They never really left. They've been running everything behind the shadows, especially the Biden regime. But yesterday, they made their public return. And I promise we're going to get to some of the clips and some of what they said yesterday. It was another horrendous night at the Democratic National Convention. More lies, more propaganda, frankly, more deranged anti-Trump hatred. The way they are denigrating, disparaging, and slandering that man, it's truly disgusting. And I'm going to get to all of it. But to be honest, the big news is not what's happening in Chicago. Okay, in Chicago. In fact, the real news is what's happening right now within the Robert F. Kennedy Jr. presidential campaign. As you know, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is a lifelong, or was a lifelong Democrat. He is a diehard, principled liberal. And this man is so disgusted with Kamala Harris, so disgusted with Joe Biden, so disgusted with the state of the country, that he has now launched an independent presidential run. And from all accounts in the polls, even though there's been a complete media blackout, and more importantly, the Democrats have done everything in their power to sabotage his campaign, to sabotage him and his vice presidential nominee, Nicole Shanahan. They continue to do fairly well. They're in the high single digits. They were at one point as high as 13-14% in the polls. And what's surprising is, yes, they're peeling votes away from Harris, or Biden-Harris, or Harris, I guess now Harris-Waltz, but they've also been taking a lot of votes, maybe even more votes away from Trump. Why? Because they appeal to disaffected independents and former Democrats who may not be able to see themselves voting for a Republican, but certainly are so disgusted by what's going on in this country over the last 3.5 years, they cannot stomach voting for Kamala Harris or Tim Walz or a radical Democrat regime again. Well, listen now to this. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is now seriously considering dropping out of the presidential race. And not only is he seriously considering dropping out of the race, which is going to be a bombshell, but he's now seriously contemplating endorsing, yes, Donald J. Trump. Listen now to his vice presidential nominee, Nicole Shanahan, where she's on a podcast, in fact, a pretty influential podcast. And she says that the Democrats have done everything they can to stop them, to harass them, to intimidate them, to sabotage them for the good of the country. They have two choices now. Either continue to build a third-party movement going into the future, but they risk having Harris win the election. And it looks like RFK Jr. and Nicole Shanahan, and by the way, Nicole Shanahan is a staunch progressive. She may be even more liberal than RFK Jr. So here you have two people of the left, the principled left, who are saying that Harris-Waltz is so extreme, so radical, frankly, so Marxist communist, so totalitarian and authoritarian, that they must not win in November. Listen now to Nicole Shanahan saying either we continue to stay with this third-party movement and risk a Harris-Waltz administration, which would be the end of freedom and the end of America, or we quit the campaign and endorse Trump. Roll cut 17. Sorry, roll cut, my bad. Roll cut 18, Mike.
You know, there's two options that we're looking at. And one is staying in, forming that new party, but we run the risk of a Kamala Harris and Waltz presidency because we draw votes from Trump, or we draw somehow more votes from Trump, or we walk away right now and join forces with Donald Trump and you know, we walk away from that and we explain to our base why we're making this decision.
Now, apparently leaks are coming out from the Robert F. Kennedy Jr. camp, apparently coming straight from RFK Jr., that he is very close to making a decision to dropping out of the race along with Nicole Shanahan and throwing his full support behind Trump. Now, Trump obviously is ecstatic. Now, trust me when I tell you this. Forget what's happening at the DNC for a second. This is the biggest political story in the country right now. Because if Robert F. Kennedy Jr. takes his 8, 9, 10%, whatever he has, and throws it behind Trump, and most of his supporters will go with RFK if he says, let's go with Trump, this election is over. It is game over for Kamala, game over for the radical Democrats. This president, I don't care how many votes they try to steal. This is going to be a bridge too far for the Harris campaign. And so this will be the body blow, the decisive knockout blow against Kamala Harris. And I want everybody to understand, this is how extreme, this is how dangerous, this is how radical Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are. Here you have, I can't stress this enough, you have a Kennedy, a lifelong Democrat, and to be fair, a lifelong liberal Democrat, just like his father, Robert F. Kennedy, who now says in good conscience, not only can I not vote for Kamala Harris, I'm going to have to endorse Trump in order to prevent her from ever entering the White House, because this will be a hammer and sickle communist revolution should they win power in November. We now have the prospect of liberals and Democrats by the millions coming now fully into the MAGA movement and welcoming them in this anti-communist, anti-Marxist, anti-socialist alliance that is now building and building against Kamala Harris. And I want you to listen in particular. This is what Nicole Shanahan, his VP pick, said. That in particular, they said the Republicans, even though we were taking more votes away from Trump, they never sued us. They never tried to prevent us from getting on the ballot. They never banned us. They never shadow banned us. They never censored us. They left us alone. They literally left us alone. You guys want to go third party? Great. It's a free country. You're taking more votes away from us than the Democrats? Too bad. We'll have to fight for those voters like everybody else, but not the Democrats. Listen now to what she said. Quote, they have banned us, shadow banned us, kept us off stages, used lawfare against us, sued us in every possible state. They even planted insiders into our campaign. They literally planted saboteurs inside their campaign to destroy it, sabotage it, and undermine it from within. These people are political thugs. By the way, they're trying to block them from getting on the ballot in New York. They're trying to block them from getting on the ballot in Pennsylvania. They're trying to block them from getting on the ballot in state after state after state. Those are Democrats tied to the Biden-Harris regime that are doing this. And that's why Nicole Shanahan and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. have come to this point, saying the threat to democracy, their words, not mine, doesn't come from Donald Trump. He hasn't been persecuting us. He hasn't been harassing us. He hasn't been blocking us. He hasn't been sabotaging us. He hasn't been trying to block access to us getting on the ballot to run as a third-party campaign or as a third-party movement. It's all been coming from the Democrats, from Biden, Harris, and their thugs. Listen now to Trump. Asked if you're endorsed by RFK, will you consider putting him in the cabinet? Roll cut 19, Mike.
Can I ask you about RFK? Because just moments ago, his running mate said that they were considering endorsing you. Have you considered him for a role in the administration, and what role would that be?
Well, we haven't, but I would love that endorsement because I've always liked him.
Would you also consider putting him in the administration?
You're asking me a very unusual question. I haven't been asked that question yet. I like him a lot. I respect him a lot. I probably would if something like that would happen.
Yeah. Yes. Offer him health and human services. HHS secretary. Unleash him on Fauci and Big Pharma. It's a marriage, an alliance made in heaven. RFK can now bring down Kamala and the entire Democrat Party. Your reaction next.
You know, there's two options that we're looking at, and one is staying in, forming that new party, but we run the risk of a Kamala Harris and Waltz presidency because we draw votes from Trump, or we draw somehow more votes from Trump, or we walk away right now and join forces with Donald Trump, and you know, we walk away from that and we explain to our base why we're making this decision.
Wow. 620 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, let's start loading up the lines. I want to hear from you, Kuhner Country. This is a huge, as I said on X yesterday, a massive, decisive development to show you how decisive it is. According now to all the polls, should Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Now, this was Nicole Shanahan, for those of you just tuning in. She is the vice presidential nominee of the Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Presidential ticket. They're running on a third party, an independent party. As they have now revealed, they have been the victim of political thuggery. There's no other word for it. From the Democrats, and in particular, from the Harris-Biden forces. They have planted insiders, saboteurs, their words, not mine, within the campaign to undermine and sabotage it from within. And not only that, they have been sued repeatedly, personally after Robert F. Kennedy Jr., but also to prevent them from getting on ballots in as many states as possible. They have been censored. They have been banned. They have been shadow banned. They have been bullied. They have been threatened. They have been intimidated. They said the level now of political violence and political intolerance that is now coming from the Democratic Party against their campaign in particular has now convinced them that they have to support Trump potentially now in November. That Kamala Harris is a radical, that she is a Marxist or some form of a communist, but more than that, that clearly under this ticket, the radical Harris-Waltz ticket, under Comrade Kamala and Tampon Tim, that they have no respect for freedom of speech, no respect for freedom of expression, no respect for political dissent, and that they're starting to get treated the way Trump is being treated. In other words, the victims of political persecution. And so they are become so disgusted by the way the Democrats have targeted them and tried to suppress and censor and destroy them, that they say under no circumstances should Kamala Harris be allowed to get into the White House. It would be a disaster that the country would never recover from. And so they are now openly thinking of quitting or suspending or stopping their campaign and formally endorsing and backing Donald Trump. Now, there are numerous opinion polls that have asked, in particular, Kennedy supporters, Kennedy Shanahan supporters, who would they vote for if Kennedy and Shanahan pulled out? Never mind endorsing Trump, if they just pulled out. And many of them, especially in the swing states, this is huge, in Pennsylvania, in Michigan, and in Wisconsin, Trump would get a massive boost in support from the Kennedy forces just if they dropped out of the race. If Kennedy ends up throwing his full support and endorses him, it'll make it almost impossible for Kamala to win. I mean, I know they're going to try to steal votes. I know they're going to try to manufacture votes, but we're talking now about a candidate that's getting about 8, 9, 10% in the polls, and that's with a full media blackout on him. And the Democrats doing all of their dirty, vicious tricks to prevent them from trying to get on these ballots, presidential ballots all across the country. It would be a fundamental political game changer. And that's why Trump is saying, yes, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., you want a cabinet position? You want to make a deal? Let's make a deal. To me, make him HHS secretary. Look, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. wants to get Fauci just as bad as Senator Rand Paul. And look, he's brilliant on Big Pharma. He was brilliant on the vaccine. He was brilliant on Fauci and the lockdowns. You want justice? Robert F. Kennedy Jr. will get us justice. And if that's what it takes to get his endorsement, to me, let's make a deal. Let's make a deal. And let's win this election for the good of the country. And to me, what is really remarkable about this, I know I said it in my opening monologue, but I want to restate it because what's happening now is history in the making. Stand back for a second. The nephew of John F. Kennedy Jr., the son of liberal civil rights icon Robert F. Kennedy, is now on the verge of endorsing a Republican for president, Donald J. Trump, a Kennedy, a lifelong Democrat, a die-hard liberal, along with Nicole Shanahan. Now, she's much more unknown. She is a wealthy, multimillionaire progressive. She's maybe even more liberal than Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is. And I want you to think about this. Now, the Harris-Walz ticket is so extreme, is so totalitarian, is so authoritarian, poses such a danger to our country that even now, die-hard, lifelong Democrats and progressives are saying, we can't vote for him. And they're going to urge millions and millions of liberals and Democrats to defect and vote for Trump. It would be the ultimate hammer blow. And on top of all of this, Tulsi Gabbard, another former Democrat, another liberal, another progressive, is now not only endorsing Trump, she's campaigning with Trump across the country, and she's going to help him debate prep against Kamala Harris. Your calls.
Can I ask you about RFK? Because just moments ago, his running mate said that they were considering endorsing you. Have you considered him for a role in the administration, and what role would that be?
Well, we haven't, but I would love that endorsement because I've always liked him.
Would you also consider putting him in the administration?
You're asking me a very unusual question. I haven't been asked that question yet. I like him a lot. I respect him a lot. I probably would if something like that would happen.
The great WRKO, Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. Okay, my friends, it's sending political shockwaves. Forget the DNC. Trust me when I tell you this. If this takes place, this election is effectively over. Kamala Harris will not win, and I don't believe she can win. They're going to try to steal it, no question. But this is going to be a political earthquake. 617-266-6868. Okay. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. now saying the Democrats have sabotaged his campaign. They have threatened him. They have prevented him, blocked him from getting access to the ballot. They have banned him. They even they inserted plants into his campaign to sabotage it. He says now this is an authoritarian party, that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are too extreme, too radical, frankly, too tyrannical, his words, to be allowed to enter the White House, and that he cannot in good conscience allow them to win. And now he's seriously considering quitting his presidential bid and endorsing Trump. So the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Mario's Quality Roofing, Siding, and Windows. Will Robert F. Kennedy Jr. endorse Donald J. Trump? Will RFK Jr. quit his campaign and come out and support Trump? A, yes. B, no. You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, Kuhn is in national ER, wrko.com/Kuhner, Kuhner. You can also vote via X. I'm very active on X. My handle there, all one word, at the Kuhner Report. My friends, a lot of Trump supporters are very excited. In fact, they're exhilarated by this news. So I want to ask you, will Robert F. Kennedy Jr. endorse Trump? Should he endorse Trump? And should Trump offer him a cabinet position? 617-266-6868. And the broader point, what will it mean politically that two lifelong progressives and liberal Democrats, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and his VP nominee, Nicole Shanahan, who, by the way, is huge on the West Coast. We don't know her that well here on the East Coast. On the West Coast, believe me, they know her. That the Democrats have become so extreme that even liberals and Democrats are now defecting. Mark in Woburn, you're going to kick us off, Mark. Thanks for holding and welcome.
Jeff, I love you in a non-sexual way, as well as Sandy and Mike. You've got a great staff. It takes a team to build a dream.
You're right. You're completely right.
So I'm going right now. RFK, yes, I checked, because strength in numbers. That's what I tell my team. And you know what's funny? I am a man of religion. I'm a man of faith. The rapture is coming. People are now starting to cling to other people. This is good. This is a good sign. So RFK gets my vote. Absolutely. Strength in numbers. Next is, I've been watching everything. My wife has engaged me into your show. I was never a political type of guy, propagandist type of guy, conspiracy theorist, none of that. But, you know, it comes down to family, religion, and basically when I see this, there's no direction with policy. They've done nothing but talk about abortion, which goes against my number one family. They've demonized Donald Trump and explained how he's a threat to democracy when they are. But I've watched 2 days of this, and I'm going to watch every day because I have kids. I have a family. I have a lovely wife. I need to know what the direction is. Where is their message? Is this just a basic young hip with rappers running around? Like, it's like a scratch ticket. These are uneducated voters. This is more like watching a Trump roast and talk about things that don't align with everyday things that I need to align with. So where are the Americans, the real, not just, it's not about what religion you practice or if you're an American or you're anything. It's about what's going on. Where's my family going? What's the direction of the country going? It doesn't look good, and I'm looking for some direction, and they don't seem to navigate very well when it comes to this.
Well, Mark, you nailed it. I mean, what you're watching at the Democratic National Convention, first night, last night it was the Obamas and Doug Emhoff, Kamala Harris's husband. There were others, but those were the key speakers. It was a Trump hate fest. It's just hate. All they do is divide, polarize, demonize. That's all they do. And they pit groups of Americans against each other. There's no vision. They're not offering concrete, successful policies. They're going to take care of your family and take care of my family. You know, you mentioned, your faith is very important to you. My faith is very important to me. To me, life is about faith, family, and freedom. Those are, to me, the three bedrock principles that I live and die by. Everything they're doing is an assault on freedom, an assault on family, and an assault on faith. And, they go on about Trump, Trump, Trump. They're obsessed with this man. I mean, it's sick. There's something, you're watching this and you're saying, all you do is bash Trump. It's almost like it's perverse. It's like a form of political pornography. They get off on it. What are you offering to working middle class families? What are you offering? What are you offering to young voters? What kind of a future are you offering them? What are you going to do for social seniors and the elderly? What are you going to do to people who live in the big cities who have to deal with crime every day? What are you going to do to fix the massive border invasion? What about inflation, the cost of food, the cost of groceries, the cost of gas? I could go on and on and on and on. Nothing on Ukraine. Nothing in the Middle East. There's a lot of protesters outside who are chanting death to the Jews and death to Israel. So we know where some of their base is. They're with Hamas and the terrorists. But they're offering nothing on peace in the Middle East, peace in Ukraine, securing our borders, getting inflation down, dealing with crime. Nothing. It's just evil orange man. That's all it is. Orange man bad. That's all they're offering. And Mark, I'm telling you, this convention is a dismal failure. It's already a disaster, and it's going to get worse. Mark my words. It's not getting better from this point on. Tim Walz is even worse. And the worst of the worst is Kamala. And she's speaking Thursday night. Mark, thank you very much for that call. Dave in Pennsylvania. Thanks for holding, Dave, and welcome.
I'm good, Pittsburgh. Good morning to you, Jeff.
Dave,
how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Well, after yesterday's news about Robert F. Kennedy Jr., fingers crossed, Dave, I'm feeling really good.
Yes. Jeff, real quick, and I'm going to do this politically incorrect because I don't give a rat's ass. All right, and excuse my language. Jeff, it's not the DNC. It's the CNC, comrade, the Communist National Convention. After that BS that was going on in punk Chicago yesterday, all right, Jeff, they're all punks. Even those terrorists outside protesting, Jeff. And I'm going to tell you, Jeff, when I was a kid growing up in the Boston area, I'm a Salem kid, okay? My papier, because I'm French Canadian with my last name. You'd see my name on Facebook. My mother was born in Montreal, but my dad's from Louisiana, so I got Cajun and Canadian French in me. My papier had a picture of Jesus Christ, the Sacred Heart of Christ, and even though he's not Irish, he had a picture of John F. Kennedy. That's the old New England liberal, old blue dog Democrat way. And RFK, yes, he might be a liberal, but he still got some blue dog in him, Jeff. Well, he wouldn't be doing this, bro.
I agree. Dave, I completely agree. And look, I mean, we're going to have to wait and see what his final decision is. But I agree with you. This is a seismic shift. If Robert F. Kennedy Jr. endorses Trump, you're looking at millions and millions of votes shifting towards Trump, especially in those big key battleground states. It'll be good night Kamala on election night. Agree, disagree, all of your calls next. 6:51 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, liberalism's worst nightmare, baby. 617-266-6868. Okay. Amidst the Democratic National Convention, with all the yelling, screaming, and raging, with Hillary Clinton and AOC, and now the Obamas, going on about how evil Trump is and what a threat he is to the country and to our democracy. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. now says the real threat comes from Kamala, Walz, and the radical Democrats. And he says what they have done to him and his running mate, Nicole Shanahan, is a crime against democracy. It is a crime against freedom. that they have been intimidated, bullied, the victims of lawfare. They have been deliberately sabotaged from within. Democrats have installed plants to literally subvert their campaign. And they say that these thugs cannot be allowed to to enter power and to remain in the White House. And so he is now openly considering quitting his presidential campaign and endorsing Trump. Trump, for his part, is saying he would welcome that endorsement. And if Kennedy would like a cabinet position, I'm thinking Health and Human Services, let's go to town on Fauci and expose what really happened during that pandemic, COVID-19. Let's do it. I am all for this alliance. Are you? Larry in Leominster. Thanks for holding, Larry, and welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Jeff.
Larry.
Buddy, what'd you think? What'd you think of the storm cloud I sent you?
That was pretty scary, Larry. What you sent me on Messenger and saying you haven't seen storms like this since you were in Arkansas. I'm like, yeah, those clouds look pretty nasty. Is it that? By the way, you know what that was called? The Kamala front. Hurricane Kamala.
So, Jeff, I want to preface this by saying I think this would be a great union. It'd be great not only to have JFK Jr. or RFK Jr. and his running mate, Shanahan, is it?
Yes.
Endorse Trump, but for Trump to put him as, like you said, HHS secretary or wherever he can go after Fauci. I think that's good. I am not convinced they're doing it because they're going to pull voters away from Trump. What the media tells us and what the internal polls tell us are two different things. The reason I'm bringing this up is because I think internal polling is showing that they would take the votes away from Harris and Walz, but not enough to make a difference to win. So I think they want an off-ramp that they say, okay, if we just drop out and we say, we're done, we can't do this, all our voters will go to Harris and Walz. But if we endorse Trump, we can really stick it to the people that have been trying to destroy us for the last year. Because think about it, if there were such a threat to Trump, wouldn't Trump, before this meeting where they had the endorsement, wouldn't Trump be, I don't want to say nasty, but more against RFK Jr.? What I mean by that is who is trying to destroy him and who's just basically ignoring him? And ask yourself why. If he was such a threat to Trump and not Harris, wouldn't it be the other way around where the one side is trying to destroy him and one side isn't?
Well, Larry, you're right. I mean, logically, rationally, you're completely right. But the thing about Trump, this is going to really shock people. And I'm telling you, take this to the bank. He's actually a very gracious, courteous man. And you're going to say, well, Jeff, I know that. I go, no, I don't think you realize if you don't attack him, if you don't go after him, he doesn't hit back very hard. In other words, he's ruthless with his enemies. But if you notice, he's a counterpuncher. He always goes after people who've gone after him first. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. never went after Trump. He was very smart. Never went after Trump. And offered himself as an alternative to both Trump and to Biden, and now Trump and Harris. And to his shock and dismay, he was getting persecuted by the Democrats. And he couldn't believe it that Trump was not trying to block him from access to the ballot. And even though I'm just going by what RFK's people are saying, they say their internal polling shows that they're peeling away more votes away from Trump than from Kamala or Biden. That many of them say, well, my second choice is Trump. You know, you're my first, Robert. You know, Robert RFK Jr., I pick you number one, but Trump is my second choice. Many more are saying that than Kamala is the second choice. And what really impressed RFK, and this is many people have said this. Look, I had Stephen Moore on the show. You probably forgot about this. Stephen Moore, big economist. He served as economic advisor under Trump. He said, Jeff, you wouldn't believe it. I'm a free trader, like through and through. He goes, I disagree with tariffs on every level. Trump would let me debate and talk and give my point of view, and he completely tolerated me. Now, once the decision was made, he says, you got to implement the policy. If you don't like the policy, you can quit, but I don't mind, debate, discuss. I want as much dissent as possible. But when then a decision is made, a decision is made. Stephen Moore said, I'm telling you, he's a much more tolerant guy and a very nice, courteous man than the public image of him. And I think that's one of the things that has really impressed RFK Jr. You see, the public, what he's realizing is this public image of him as this fascist, Nazi, Hitler dictator. It's the exact opposite. Now, I think the other thing, Larry, I think there's no getting around it. And there's a great text that I got from 781 that really, I think, hits the nail on the head. Remember, Joe Biden deliberately denied him Secret Service protection. And month after month after month, even though RFK Jr. was getting more death threats, him and his family were in serious mortal danger. We know what happened to his uncle. We know what happened to his father. We know the tragedy of assassinations with that family. And you're going to leave RFK like that completely exposed? It's disgusting. And if you remember early on, again, to give Trump his due, Trump said what you and I would have said. Give the man Secret Service protection. He's running for president of the United States. We disagree. He's taking votes away from me. That's okay. That's the American way. We fight it out. Whoever wins, wins. But for God's sake, don't leave him twisting in the wind like this. Completely, utterly exposed because you're a vindictive SOB like Joe Biden. And then they only capitulated after the assassination attempt on Trump. And even then, with, a part of his ear blown off, Trump came out and right away said, I should get more Secret Service protection, but I got to say this. Where is it for RFK Jr.? Because I don't want to see what happened to me happen to him. So I'm just telling you, Larry, if somebody's expressing that kind of concern for my personal safety and security, and he's my political rival and opponent, and he's been that good to me, while my supposed former comrades, the Democrats, are calling me every name in the book, are calling me up at night, threatening to murder me and my family, are blocking me from getting on ballots, are censoring me. Then I find out they've planted spies in my campaign to undermine and sabotage it at every turn. I'd be like, here, kiss my middle finger. That's what I tell them. Here it is. Here's the middle finger. Here's the bird. I'm going with Trump. What say you, Larry?
Sir, I do agree with that. I want to clarify. I don't mean that Trump would be as vindictive as the Democrats. That wasn't my point. My point was, think about during the 2016, one of the few people he never touched was Ben Carson. There's mutual respect. He didn't see him as a threat, so he didn't make up names about him. He treated him very respectful. I'm saying that the Trump campaign overall didn't put up a legitimate, argumentative attack against RFK because I don't think the polls show him as a threat. What I do think is if he just walked away, the disillusioned people may end up voting for Harris. So this is a final stick it to you for treating me like crap and denying me protection. I'm going to endorse Trump to ensure my people screw you in the end. That's what I'm saying. I don't mean to sound like Trump would be vindictive and nasty.
No, I know. I know. But Larry, so I just gotta, I hear you. I completely hear you. In the end, when everything is said and done, if RFK Jr. comes out and does what we're all hoping he does, which is say, I'm quitting the race and I'm going to endorse Donald J. Trump with Nicole Shanahan, lifelong liberal Democrat, lifelong progressive, and they say, she's too crazy, she's too extreme, she's too dangerous, this is a full-blown communist ticket. And I'm urging even liberals, even progressives, you may not like Trump on many issues, but my God, he's not that. Will that have a decisive effect on the election? I'm just curious.
Oh, yes, sir. It definitely will, because people have loyalty, and when you express loyalty for another person, they tend to, it's a solid endorsement. Yes, it is, exactly. I am getting vibes, however, from 1980, 1984, Reagan's big tent theory. We welcome all comers as long as they, can get along with us and work with us. And I think that's what we're seeing happen again. A lot of liberals are saying, this party I don't recognize. This is too much. Trump may be, rub people the wrong way, but we had the good life under him.
I think you summed it up beautifully. Larry, as always, thank you so much for that call. Well, here, okay? Quick sidebar, and I want to go right back to the phone lines. By the way, a couple lines are open if you want to jump on. Believe me, now's the time to do it. 617-266-6868 is the number. To prove RFK Jr.'s point, okay, and his running mate, Nicole Shanahan, why, whatever you think about them, okay, and I disagree with them on many issues, but they're not this, what I'm about to show you now. In other words, you can see why they're thoroughly disgusted with the modern Democratic Party. Andy Beshear, the Democrat governor of Kentucky, went on MSNBC yesterday. In fact, I wrote about this on X yesterday. You want to talk about vile, obscene, frankly disgusting, beyond unacceptable. So as you know, they're going on abortion. I'll tell you what the DNC is about. It's literally, it's hate Donald Trump, evil orange man, and abortion. That's all it is now. It's hate Trump, abortion. Hate Trump, abortion. Hate Trump, abortion. That's it. They're like a two-note pony. Not a one-note pony, but a two-note pony. That's it. That's all they know how to do. Okay? So, they're claiming that J.D. Vance does not support abortion in case a woman is raped and then she's impregnated, which is a lie. In other words, that he doesn't believe in any exceptions. That's not true. J.D. Vance does believe in exceptions for the life of the mother and, of course, if a woman is raped. But it doesn't matter. They have to caricature his position, lie, because that's what they do. They lie about Trump and his positions. They're lying about J.D. So Andy Beshear, unbelievably, goes on MSNBC. And remember, he is a Kamala Harris surrogate. He's a campaign surrogate. He is speaking for Kamala Harris and her campaign. And this is what Governor Andy Beshear, okay, and he's supposed to be a moderate Democrat in theory. This is what passes for a moderate now in this new Democrat Party. This is what he said about J.D. Vance and a female member of his family. Roll cut 17, Mike.
I mean, think about what some people have had to go through because of these laws. J.D. Vance calls pregnancy resulting from rape inconvenient. Like, inconvenience is traffic. I mean, make him go through this.
He's calling now for a member of his family to be raped. Let him go through this. By the way, he never said that about being raped and getting pregnant is an inconvenience. He never said that. So that's another lie on top of all the other lies. Okay. But let that go. Here you have a major surrogate for the Kamala Harris campaign coming out and saying someone needs to rape and impregnate a family member of J.D. Vance. Someone in J.D. Vance's family now. Let him feel it. Go out and rape one of them. Well, he's got young kids, so you can't rape and impregnate them. So basically he's saying go rape his wife. That's what he's really saying. Go rape his Indian wife and get her pregnant. And then we'll see how he likes it. This is beyond disgusting. This is beyond vile. Andy Bashir has doubled down. He's been told, you really should apologize for this. This is really unacceptable. No. This is not just not beyond the pale. He said, no, I stand by it 1,000%. The Kamala Harris campaign, they stand behind it 1,000%. Now, as I pointed out on X, where the hell are the Republicans? Can you imagine if a top Trump campaign surrogate, I don't care, I don't know, Lindsey Graham or whoever he has doing media for him constantly, on behalf of the Trump team, said, you know what? Somebody should rape somebody in Tim Walz's family. You know, somebody should rape him and get him impregnated. Can you imagine the blowback from the media? Can you imagine what the Democrats would be screaming bloody murder? Nothing. J.D. Vance had to go and defend his family, and he was furious, and I don't blame him. And, of course, Trump always backs his guys. But outside of Trump and J.D., where are the Republicans? Where's the pushback? They are now openly embracing political violence. They're now openly saying it's okay to urge people to rape a member of a vice presidential nominee's family and get them pregnant. Now, this is what RFK Jr. is looking at. This is what Nicole Shanahan is looking at and saying, this is the modern Democratic Party? You guys are a bunch of political thugs and gangsters. That's what you guys have degenerated into. Can you imagine John F. Kennedy having anything to do with this? Robert F. Kennedy? Even that fat slob, and I couldn't stand him, that murderer, Ted Kennedy. Even Ted Kennedy would pick up the phone and say, no, you got to walk this one back. Hey, whoa. We're not going to start calling for people to rape people's families. Like, come on now. Easy. Bill in the great state of Hawaii. Thanks for holding, Bill, and welcome.
Welcome. Thank you.
Hi, Bill.
Yes, I wanted to call because I called like a half dozen times over the years. And I once called in talking about Tulsi and the fact that she turned independent back then. And I called in to defend her, to say that she's kind of growing as in the way of trying to get away from the deep state. She tried to sue Hillary, and out of the blue, she dropped that whole account. And I think it's because the deep state tried to threaten her, just like they're trying to now threaten Kennedy.
Oh, Bill, you're dead on. You're absolutely dead on. No, look, there's a phenomenon taking place that the media refuses to cover. Now, whether it's Tulsi Gabbard, who's now fully endorsed Trump as part of his campaign team, as I said, she's actually helping him debate prep for Kamala. She dismantled Kamala in the 2020 primary debates. She destroyed her when Tulsi was still a Democrat. But now you're seeing it with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. You're seeing it with Nicole Shanahan. You're seeing it now with many disaffected liberals, disillusioned Democrats who maybe are still progressive or liberal on many ideas, but on the issues of freedom, civil liberties, opposition to the deep state, they're patriots. On that level, they're patriots. And they are now coming into the Trump MAGA movement. It's Reagan's big tent all over again. And it's what led to one of the greatest political victories in 1984. And I believe we're on the verge of doing the exact same thing now. If this happens, it's over for Comrade Kamala. 7:19, almost 7:20 now on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, I want to read this text to all of you. And I think it pretty much sums up why RFK Jr. is disgusted with the Democrats, disgusted with Biden and Kamala Harris, and the entire criminal, corrupt cabal that now is the Democrat Party. This is what 781 wrote. By the way, you can text us 70470, 70470, 781. Jeff, don't forget that Biden and the Democrats refused to give RFK Secret Service protection, which has been the custom for decades, until after Trump's shooting. That, despite numerous requests by RFK for months. Yet Biden-Harris had no problem giving Fauci Secret Service protection to this day. Even John Bolton continues to get Secret Service protection. In other words, Harris and Biden hoped an assassin would take care of both Trump and RFK Jr. That's the kind of Politburo Obama runs from his dacha on the vineyard. Bingo. Bingo. And if you want to me, if you want to see why more people are being turned off by the Democratic Party every single day, all you had to do was listen to Obama's speech last night. So last night now, they rolled out their litter. Okay, first it was Michelle, Marxist Michelle. She preceded him. And then, of course, the keynote was their litter, Barack Hussein Obama. And it was all, as I said, it's abortion, abortion, hate Trump, hate Trump. That's it. Okay? That's been all the speeches so far, and it culminated with Obama. But he did, to show you the level of Trump derangement syndrome, to show you how vulgar and sick, really twisted and perverse the Democrats have become. Obama made a crude sex joke about Donald J. Trump yesterday. And it's a visual. I'm going to play you an audio cut, but it's a visual that obviously you can't see because it's coming on the radio. But he's bashing Trump and he's making fun of Trump. And then at one point he talks about Trump's weird obsession with crowd sizes. But what he really does is he has his two hands and he puts them out and he puts them like very close together. And the obvious reference, it's a visual reference, is his, you know what, is small. Okay, that Trump's, what do you want to call it? His private parts. Okay, his little private is his schlong, as the Jews would call it. His schlong is small. And the crowd starts laughing. They think this is so funny. Now they're making fun of Trump's little wee-wee. Listen now to Barack Hussein Obama. Roll cut 1A, Mike.
Here's a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems since he rode down his golden escalator 9 years ago. It has been a constant stream of gripes and grievances that's actually been getting worse now that he's afraid of losing to Kamala. There's the childish nicknames, the crazy conspiracy theories, this weird obsession with crowd sizes.
And of course, that's with his hands. He makes a measurement, saying, oh, look, his is, you know what, really small, And you can see the crowd is just yucking it up. They love it. They love it. Now, a couple of points, and I'm going to go right back to you. 617-266-6868 is the number. Is this all they have? Like, really, this is the best that you can do? So he's Hitler. He's a threat to democracy. He's a dictator. He's, by the way, they're going on with the KKK. They're back to the KKK now. He's Ku Klux Klan. He's a white supremacist. He's the worst president we ever had. On and on. He's a rapist. He's a convicted felon. They just go on and on and on. But now, well, he's got a small, you know what, huh? His little private part there. It's too small. It's not very small. Sorry, it's not very big. It's small, very small. By the way, as this guy's going on about childish nicknames and name calling, and literally within 2 sentences, and there he is. Look at his. Pathetic. Honestly, absolutely pathetic. And let me tell you what this is all leading to. Okay? This is obvious. They are dehumanizing this man. They're delegitimizing this man. During the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee, I can tell you this because I was there. Joe Biden's name during all of these speeches was mentioned 4 times. 4 times. In 4 days, in these major primetime speeches, Joe Biden's name was mentioned 4 times. Opening night, they mentioned Trump's name 147 times. Apparently last night, dozens and dozens and dozens of times. And what they're really doing is they're trying to make him so illegitimate that if he wins in November, the Democrats will not accept the results. 7:33 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. So now they're making fun of Trump's package. I mean, this is how desperate they're getting. So let me give you the short version. Here's the dare later. Barack Hussein Obama. Now remember, you can't see the visual, but when he talks about Trump's obsession with crowd sizes, there's Obama putting his hands out and like measuring his, the size of his, you know what. Roll cut 1. The short version, Mike.
There's the childish nicknames, the crazy conspiracy theories, this weird obsession with crowd sizes.
I mean, this is what I'm telling you. This is what this convention is. It's abortion and this. That's all they have. Abortion and this hate. This Trump derangement syndrome. A lot of reaction coming in. You can text us 70470, 70470. This is from 517. Jeff, what Barack meant to say was his wife's package is bigger than Trump's. Oh, you got him good, 517. Okay, this is from 917. Jeff, Obama is the source of all media-driven Trump hatred. I'm convinced of it. And he does this because he's scared, I can't say the word on the air, because he's scared crapless that Trump will hold him accountable. 508, Jeff, Obama is like a punk who is scared of his enemy, so he talks tough, but he's actually a beta male with a big mouth. Well, he likes to talk a big, tough game, but I got to tell you, it's pretty obvious. I mean, he's petrified because he's in big trouble. He's the mastermind behind all of this. The Russia collusion hoax along with Hillary Clinton, the illegal spying on the Trump campaign, the illegal spying when Trump was president, what happened under Biden, who installed Biden, and now obviously who installed Kamala Harris. To me, what was incredible last night, and I'll get to the clips later in the show, he's going on about what buddies he and Joe Biden are and how it's the best decision I ever made. Making him my VP. Yeah, if he was such a freaking good VP and he's the best, best decision I ever made, why did you call him up and force him out? This is just, I mean, the level of the hypocrisy and phoniness here, it's staggering. Staggering. He's the best choice I ever made, so why'd you stab him in the back? A2, Barack. Hey, you phony, you fraud, you. So, let me ask all of you. Obama makes fun of Trump's you-know-what size. Okay? His private parts. Let's just call it that. What did you make of it? And the Democrats are lapping it up. They love it. They think this is great political theater. So how come no one's telling Barack Obama not to do name calling, not to vilify or attack his candidate or his opponents or his rivals? Forgive me, his rival candidates. But when it comes to Trump, the guy says anything about anybody, and everybody says stop with the insults. Is the DNC turning into a disaster for the Democrats? Or is it working? Because so far, no one's talking about Kamala's record. No one's talking about Kamala's policies. No one's talking about what Kamala will actually do should she be installed in November. Mel in New York. Thanks for holding, Mel, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Mel.
Taking my call.
My pleasure, Mel.
Thank you. Yeah, Barack Obama, he ought to know a lot about the size of someone's male member. He and Big Mike, they have sword fights just about every night. So, the fact is she probably tells him to lay on your back and take a lap. You know, as far as for about 10,000 years, we've had climate change. And I know here in this area, in Northeast America, we have climate change 4 times a year, winter, spring, summer, and fall. So, I mean, but then President Trump has to be careful who he surrounds himself with, because if you correct me if I'm wrong, RFK said he wanted to arrest all climate deniers. So, I mean, that's what I understand. But, you know, President Trump's got to be very careful. I think they're starting their attack to surround him with a bunch of underhanded, subversive members in his cabinet. He's got like feet in the barrel. He's a good man. You ain't got to worry about him. You know, Steve Bannon. You ain't got to worry about a guy like that. But these other people, man, he better watch his back.
Interesting.
I don't always get advice from him.
Mel, so you're saying you would not put RFK Jr. in his cabinet then, right? If you were advising him, you'd say, don't do it?
Absolutely not. You know, you can't. I mean, once you, a leopard never changes its spots. Once you come out of your mouth like that, you know, against people who don't believe in climate change and just only have common sense, more sense than any of these climate scientists have, these bull crappers, you know, and, you know, I wouldn't trust them as far as I could throw a grand piano.
Interesting. Mel, interesting. Okay, so Mel says, but you would take his endorsement though, right? If he quits the race and endorses Trump, you would accept the endorsement, right?
Well, you know, I even have a little issue with that. I mean, endorsement or not, President Trump's got all of us behind him. He knows he's got us. We're more important than anybody else, RFK or anyone else, other than Jesus Christ. I mean, Christ is the only one who's behind, who's ahead of all of us and ahead of Trump. So yeah, I wouldn't have to rely on his endorsement. No.
Interesting. Wow. Okay. Mel says, Mel, as always, thank you very much for that call. So here, let's throw this log on the fire. This is an interesting take. Mel says, don't even take RFK Jr.'s endorsement. You don't need it. MAGA is all you need. We're the majority of the country. Don't get involved. RFK Jr. is a leftist, always a leftist. You know, will always be a leftist. Once a leftist, as they say, always a leftist. And so don't bring him into your cabinet, because what he's complaining the Democrats have done to him, Mel fears that RFK Jr. will do to Trump. Sabotage his administration from within. Interesting. Agree, disagree. Hank in the great state of California, the Golden State. Thanks for holding, Hank, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff. I feel like for the last 3 years we've been living in a George Orwell novel, but I just want to get your opinion. With all the anger and the yelling and the banging of the tables, does the DNC not seem eerily similar to what George Orwell described as hate week in the book 1984?
Yes.
All the propaganda, I mean, it's spot on.
And notice what Orwell talked about, how you always, Goldstein, remember Goldstein? You have to find an enemy, personalize it, and then demonize that enemy over and over and over again. He's the source of all your problems. He's the source of the whole country's problems. And it's just constant hatred towards that one political enemy. And that's what they're doing with Trump. I mean, really, to the point that it's getting, look, say what you want about Trump, but he doesn't go around mocking people's, the size of their private parts. But that's what it's come down to. I mean, they've so dehumanized him. Look, it's obvious. They're setting up another assassination attempt. They're turning him into the devil. And they're basically telling their people, if you have to steal it, steal it. And if he wins in November, we will not accept the election results. Hank, am I wrong?
You're 100% spot on, and you described it perfectly. It is truly like that book was written as their playbook for the left to use.
Hank, thank you very much for that call. Orwell's 1984 was meant as a warning. These modern-day radical Democrats have taken it exactly as Hank just said. They've turned it into their playbook. All of your calls. Next, the Obamas to the rescue. 7:52 on the great WRKO. Okay, the Democrats now call in the big guns. Michelle Obama, Barack Obama. They delivered, both of them, very divisive speeches. They went on against Trump, both of them. Michelle Obama in particular played the race card repeatedly. And of course, the issue was abortion, abortion, abortion. And according to Obama, yep, if Trump wins in November, it's the end of our democracy, the end of our Constitution, and the beginning of a dictatorship. And so my question to you, will the use of the Obamas last night, will it galvanize the Democratic base? Is it enough now to put Kamala Harris over the top? Or like me, do you think this Democratic National Convention so far has been a complete debacle and a disaster? 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, this is from Mark on Messenger. Jeff, so far the DNC has been nothing but Trump bashing. No policies whatsoever because they've got nothing. Oh, wait, they got abortion, all in caps. No platform at all. It's pathetic. This whole convention is an abortion. But I'm still worried about Judge Juan Merchan's decision on Trump's sentencing in several weeks and how it will affect the polls. What say you? Well, look, I think it's very obvious now that if you look at the rhetoric, if you look at the hate that has now been unleashed against Trump, and especially over the last couple of weeks, to me, and the fact that Kamala and Tim Walz are so far to the left, the most radical, again, they're practically an openly communist ticket, that either they're planning to conduct the greatest voter fraud in human history, and they're just going to steal it, literally out and out steal it, or they're planning to lock Trump up behind bars. In the belief that by putting him behind bars, that Juan Merchan is going to, throw the book at him and send him off to Rikers Island, that this will destroy Trump's numbers. It will make him plummet in the polls. And they will not just say you have a convicted felon, but you would now have an imprisoned convicted felon. running as the Republican presidential nominee, and that this will be such a disaster in terms of public opinion that they believe it will sweep Kamala and Tim Walz to the presidency and into the White House. So this is clearly what I think they're banking on. I can just tell you what my sources are telling me, that Trump is bracing for the worst. He is expecting the worst. Apparently, Alvin Bragg is going to be asking for jail time, which is absolutely insane, but let that go. And that at a minimum, Trump is facing house arrest with an ankle bracelet, but that most likely, in fact, they're already getting a prison ready, a cell ready for Trump at Rikers Island. That most likely, incredibly, Juan Merchan is going to come out and say Trump has to spend about a year behind bars and that he will be sentenced immediately to jail. Now, let me just say this, and I want to go right back to the full phone lines. 617-266-6868 is the number. If Judge Juan Merchan sentences Trump to jail, it will be beyond a travesty of justice, a blatant miscarriage of justice. It will be naked political persecution. In fact, I believe the country is going to recoil in horror, absolute horror. And it's going to guarantee Trump's reelection in November. That's just my personal feeling. You may disagree with me. I think the country is going to look at this and say, my God, these people really are communist thugs and communist dictators. I mean, they really are now full-fledged authoritarian socialists. This really is Maduro's Venezuela now. And I think you're going to see an explosion against that decision. But they're committed now. This, when you keep going Hitler, 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 and you don't stop with no evidence, you just keep repeating it mindlessly. Dictator, dictator, dictator. Now it's small wee wee, small wee wee, small wee wee. Okay, this is what they've got. And by the way, all of this several weeks after an attempted assassination attempt. Yeah, after an assassination attempt. Several weeks after they tried to get his head blown off. They're setting it up to put him behind bars. And they're hoping it's going to demoralize us. They're hoping it's going to crater public opinion. And it's going to hand them the White House. And if you notice, this is the strategy they're using with Kamala Harris. You know, as a top Democrat consultant wrote recently in the Hill newspaper, the Democrat strategy has been decided on. To find out what Kamala's really going to do, you have to vote for her and put her in the White House to then find out what she'll actually do once she's in the White House. So if you notice, this has been completely policy free. The whole Democratic National Convention, no policies whatsoever. Keep it as vague and unclear and nebulous as possible. And it's all about good vibes. It's all about imaging. It's all about branding. She's like a consumer product. Notice, her hair now is immaculate. Her makeup is immaculate. Her dress, the way she dresses, immaculate. And they're in front of, she's the change candidate. What change? She's been vice president for the last 3.5 years. She's quote unquote a fresh face. What fresh face? She's been around for 3.5 years. She's the incumbent. She owns all of these disastrous policies. It doesn't matter. That's the brainwashing. That's the propaganda. That's the indoctrination. And the reason why they're doing that, they want to make her as much of a blank slate as possible. Remember how they sold Obama? This is all Obama. This is how they sold Biden in 2020. He was Scranton Joe. When it turned out he was just a vessel for the radical left. Remember how they sold Obama in 2008 in particular? He wasn't a radical leftist. No. Hey, come on. He was Barack, hope and change, feel good. He's the guy. He'll bridge all the divides. He's hip. He's cool. He's young. He's the future. It was all brand packaging, brand imaging. They're doing the exact same thing with Kamala Harris. And they've turned Trump now into such a monster, into such a caricature, that liberals are going to openly cheer. In fact, I'm telling you, many of them are going to pop champagne corks. They're going to be jubilant. They're going to be out on the streets, not protesting, celebrating, like in some of these European or Latin American countries when their country wins the World Cup. Like, ah! They're going to be out on the streets, laughing, dancing. I mean, just giddy with joy. Delirious with joy. So, do I think they're going to jail him? No question. Maybe house arrest. Most likely they're going to send him to Rikers. And the reason why they want him in Rikers? Because then they can kill him in Rikers. And that's the only way to permanently eliminate the Trump problem as far as they're concerned. And we have to be ready. All of us have to be ready. And we have to let this judge know in no uncertain terms, you put him behind bars, we're going to go to the streets. Massive protests. We're going to shake every city. We're going to shake every capital. We're going to shake every park, massive or boulevard and highway. We are going to let the entire country know that this is beyond unacceptable. But are they looking to lock him up? No question. No question. Just my opinion. 617-266-6868 is the number. Angelo in Rockland. Thanks for holding, Angelo, and welcome.
How are you? Yeah, Miss Medusa is right on key with their play plan, but she doesn't have a chance. The best thing that JFK can do is stand by Trump because he has the vision of America, and that's what's important. These other people are just pigs, money grabbing, and they don't care about us. What gets me really disgusted is how Kamala says that if Trump does get in, how he's going to use the DOJ and the FBI and lawfare and everything. It's a play out of their playbook. He's a true patriot. He's a God-fearing American patriot, and he will not go after them like they do him. And he just wants a strong America on the world stage, and that's what MAGA is all about. Everybody's equal in our country anyway. But how are you, Jeff?
Well, Angelo, look, I'm very good. I'll be honest with you. I feel the wind is now at our back. I think RFK, this could be I know it will be the decisive blow. They're going to try to jail him, which I'm very concerned about. But I think it's going to lead to a massive backlash. They are going to turn him now into the ultimate martyr. Yeah, I mean, he'll become Nelson Mandela. I mean, literally, he'll become America's Nelson Mandela or America's Lech Walesa. They all spent time in jail. And he's going to become a political prisoner. He's going to become a political dissident. And my fear is for his safety, but my fear is not for his reelection. I think it'll be the biggest mistake the Democrats ever make. And you know what I find incredible, Angelo? Is that they're going to put him in jail. Just stand back. Okay, whatever you think about the case against him, which I thought was absolutely ludicrous. I mean, it was the hush money case with Stormy Daniels. To me, it was a ridiculous case to begin with. First-time offense, nonviolent offense. So it's a nonviolent first-time offense. No victim. No victim. Remember, he paid her with his own money. So this whole falsifying business records, nobody was victimized. If anything, Trump paid more in taxes than he ever should have. So you have no victim, at worst, a white-collar crime, nonviolent, first-time offense. And these lunatics want to send them behind bars? You have people who literally conduct carjackings, burglaries, muggings, rioting, looting, assaults on police officers, and they get no jail time. Nothing. Zero. Nada. But they want to put Trump behind bars for allegedly falsifying business records, basically a bookkeeping crime. These people are whacked. They're whacked. And what it shows to me, Angelo, is how desperate they are to keep him from coming back. Because the guy that was yapping last night, Barack Hussein Obama, is the mastermind criminal. He's the puppet master. And Trump knows it. And his crimes are going to be exposed. And his abuses of power are going to be exposed. So I look at all of this. Who installed Joe Biden? Obama. Who overthrew Biden? Obama. Who installed Kamala Harris? Obama. Who launched the lawfare campaign against Trump? Ultimately, Obama. Who wants him behind bars? Obama. Who wants him dead? Obama. He's the godfather of the Democrat machine. And when you go up against the Godfather, as they say in the Godfather movie, you sleep with the fishes. My fear is not for Trump's reelection. My fear is for his personal safety. Because, Angelo, God is my witness. If they get him in Rikers, I believe Trump is a dead man. What say you?
Well, I think even the prisoners realize that Trump is worth more than gold, and I don't think they'd cross that line. But I think, as you said, Obama is the pen man to put everything into play, and he's actually putting Trump back into play. Thank you, Obama, because I know your big ears are listening to this. But that's what I believe. And Trump's going to come forth, and we're going to see better times in America, and world peace will come with that. And even the Bens in Andover know that Trump is on the right path and the MAGA movement is on the right path, but they just can't bite down on the bullet because they got no strength. But we'll carry it for you. Don't worry, you weaklings. But that's what I got to say, Jeff.
Angelo, as always, thank you very much for your call. You're going to get more freedom, more security, more prosperity, more happiness, more money in your pocket. Every single one of you. When Trump wins, quote unquote, the threat he poses to all of us. I mean, you can't get more insane than what's happening right now. What you're seeing in Chicago, that's not a convention. That's a lunatic asylum. Dan in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Dan, and welcome.
Thanks a lot, Jeff, for taking the call. Jeff, what I see, I've been watching the convention, and I've been comparing it to what I saw in the other convention. And to be quite honestly, they've got nothing. There's lackluster. There's empty seats. There's just, how can I say, no momentum. When it was Trump, there was a thunder in that convention hall. And I mean a thunder. And I'm going to tell you right now, if that's as much thunder as that they can must out of their convention, they've got nothing. And as far as President Trump going to Rikers, I agree with you. They're going to try to Epstein him. And the other thing is that we need about 6'8" or 6'10" security guard people that are for Trump that will sit right beside him, eat beside him, sleep beside him, walk beside him, and be right with him at all times. Because if you take if somebody turns their back, it's over. And the other thing is, as far as our country is basically, the other half of this country is just what I call walking zombies. I mean, my God, they're walking off the cliff as fast as they can. And what's going to happen here is that once the cloud comes off and all of these woke people really see, because let's face it, they're only going to see it if Kamala wins. They're going to see the destruction. They're going to see chaos. They're going to see basically a collapse in the economy, the banks, a depression. And they think that It's just going to be us that feel it. They're going to feel it, but twice as bad because they never saw it coming. They're ignorant. And believe me, their ignorance is going to cost them huge in the event if she were to get in, because they're going to be broadsided. Whatever happens to us happens to them. And quite honestly, they're not going to like it a lot less than what we're going to like it, because we saw it coming and we've been preparing for it. But I'm going to tell you right now, the momentum is with us. There is no question. If they do jail him, there's going to be a tidal wave, an absolute tidal wave of support for President Trump. They're going to see in the world, can you imagine? The whole world is going to see this. And we're jailing the leading candidate for the president and a former president. It's absolutely absurd. We're losing our credibility. The country better realize that this is our savior. He's the one that's going to pull us out of it. He's going to reduce the size of government. He's going to get all of this bull crap that's been going on for all these years. He's going to flush them down the toilet. And then finally, we're going to be able to live a life of peace, tranquility, and what the American system is based on. And that's basically the Constitution, God,
and freedom. Dan, you hit the nail right on the head. And, you know, what happened to Nelson Mandela? He ended up becoming president of South Africa. What happened to Lech Walesa? He ended up becoming the president of a free and independent Poland. You jail Trump, I'm telling you, you're guaranteeing his reelection. Are we back on the air? Yeah, we are, Mike? Okay. Small technical glitch there. Anyway, 8:20 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. Let's go to Val in Franklin. Thanks for holding, Val, and welcome.
Thank you so much for taking my call, Jeff.
Hi, Val.
I wanted to talk about how Barack Obama used brainwashing method that's being used by Kamala as well, like the hope and change or intangible things, like my hope for something is different than your hope for something, and you might want to change houses and I want to change my car or change the oil, and they're different. So you have this dreamy state, I'll vote and I'll get those things. So they're using joy. So your joy might be something different than my joy, than the person down the street in the next state. And joy seems so hopeful and, oh my gosh, joy. But really, after you vote for her, the joke's on you, joy. J-O-Y, because it's not real. And another thing that I'm afraid that they're using, because I keep hitting this over and over again, and I hope you can give me a way to combat it, or others who are facing it. As a woman, I'm being hit with shame. Like, oh, how shameful he's a sexist. How shameful he's a convicted felon. How shameful he's not going to let your daughter or you have an abortion when you need it for health reasons and all these things. So I don't know how to combat the shame thing, so maybe you have some tools that can be used.
Well, Val, I mean, the way you combat, first of all, when they try to shame you into voting for someone, that tells you, that's coercion. That's a totalitarian tactic. So that tells you right away that these aren't champions of democracy and freedom, but the very opposite. And you combat that. You always combat propaganda. And this is how I always debate liberals. And it's why I always beat them, because I combat their lies with the truth and facts and evidence. So Donald Trump on abortion believes that the issue should go to the states, which is exactly how our founding fathers intended. So if you live in Massachusetts like you, Val, no one is going to touch anyone's abortion rights. In fact, in most parts of the country, abortion is still going to be legal. So if, on the abortion issue, these people, by the way, do you remember when the decision to overturn the Dobbs decision to overturn Roe versus Wade came out? All these idiot Democrats said millions of women are going to die. There's going to be so many back alley abortions. Oh, the bodies are going to be piling up left, right, and center. What happened? Nothing. Literally nothing. Nothing. You had some southern states that imposed more restrictions on abortion. A few imposed, almost a complete ban. Even then, they have exceptions for rape in the life of the mother. But even in places like Kansas and Iowa, they have very loose laws on abortion. So in most of the country, it's legal. So that's lie number one. Lie number two, as a woman, why should you vote for a far left-wing fanatic? As a woman, why should you want more crime? Why should you want a border invasion? Why should you want skyrocketing inflation? Why should you want high interest rates? Why should you want an economy that's on the verge of literally tipping into a Great Depression? So, look, I was a big admirer of Margaret Thatcher. Had I lived in Britain at the time, I would have voted for her every single time and proudly. Why? Because she was good for the country and she'd be good for me and my family. I don't vote based on plumbing. To me, it's the stupidest argument I've ever heard. With all due respect, whether it dangles or doesn't dangle is irrelevant to me. The color of your skin is irrelevant to me. The color of your eyes, the color of your hair, I don't care. What I care about are your policies, your record, your ideas, and your character. So, to me, that transcends. You're not a woman. I mean, of course you're a woman, Val. But when you vote, you're a citizen. See, they're always trying to break us down, and that's what Democrats do. It's tribalism. It's always, you're gay, or you're a lesbian, or you're black, or you're white, or you're young, or you're old. No, you're a citizen. That's why we vote. And as a citizen, you should look at yourself as a citizen and your fellow Americans as citizens. What's best for the country? And what's best for the country, without a doubt, is Donald J. Trump. I hope that helps, Val. Val, thank you so much for that call. Bill in Sudbury. Thanks for holding, Bill, and welcome.
Hello, good morning. Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Bill.
I don't think the RFK endorsement will have a significant effect. It's too late. 6 months ago, maybe, but now it's late. It feels like piling on. I don't think it has much effect at this point.
Hold on. You're telling me with a straight face. I mean, Bill, you always outdo yourself. I got to tell you that. I mean, it's just incredible.
I think it's too late.
Bill, I have to say this. No, really, I'm going to be brutally honest with you, okay? You remind me of Tom McDevitt. Who's Tom McDevitt? He was once the president of the Washington Times. And our nickname for him was McMoron. And we all said this about him. There was like an inverted, perverse genius to the man. He was always wrong. Like always, like even a stopped clock is right twice a day. Bernie Sanders. I'm telling you, Bernie once in a while is right. But you're the Tom McDevitt of the Kuhner Report. Every single time you get it wrong. It's incredible. Bill, if you want to hang on, I'm more than happy to pick this up on the other side.
There's two options that we're looking at, and one is staying in, forming that new party, but we run the risk of a Kamala Harris and Waltz presidency because we draw votes from Trump, or we draw somehow more votes from Trump, or we walk away right now and join forces with Donald Trump, and we walk away from that and we explain to our base why we're making this decision.
That was Nicole Shanahan. She's the VP nominee for the RFK Jr. independent ticket. Absolute bombshell yesterday, 8:33 on the great WRKO. Apparently now there's even more media reports coming out now. RFK is on the verge of not only quitting his presidential bid, but more importantly, endorsing Donald Trump. Liberals, Democrats, the media are in full meltdown mode. All the polls show that an endorsement by RFK Jr. would be an immense boost to Trump, especially in the battleground states, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. But Bill in Sudbury is saying no. Now, all of a sudden, his endorsement means nothing. So, Bill, please tell us why an endorsement by RFK Jr., who's got about 9-10% in the polls, a lifelong Democrat, a principled liberal. Nicole Shanahan is even more to the left than he is. She's very well known out on the West Coast, has millions of followers herself. why an endorsement from these two means nothing for Trump. Go ahead, Bill.
Too late in the process. Like I said, 6 months ago, it might have meant something. I predict if he does that, if he comes out, it will be 1 point or less. What's your prediction? I bet you Trump would gain maybe 1 point.
Well, number one.
What's your prediction?
Number 1 point in Michigan and Wisconsin and Pennsylvania is the ball game.
Okay, so what's your prediction?
Well,
How many points?
Hold on. Bill, 1 point. If you go by the lowest possible, it's going to be more, obviously more. But 1 point is the ball game in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, which is the ball game for the election. That's why the Democrats are in full panic. And it's why the Democrats have been trying to sabotage the RFK campaign. These are your people. This is who you support. This is who you've been a lifelong Democrat. You blindly follow them, blindly support them. No matter what they do, you support. I mean, you've been calling this show now for over 10 years. So, you have this blind allegiance, and these are your people. So listen now to what Nicole Shanahan said, that the Democrats, led by Biden and Harris, have done everything in their power to destroy the Kennedy campaign. And in fact, RFK and Nicole Shanahan have said they are political thugs, that these are tyrants and gangsters. Quote, they have banned us, shadow banned us, kept us off stages, used lawfare against us, sued us in every possible state. They even planted insiders into our campaign to sabotage our campaign. That's why they're saying they have to support Trump, because Kamala Harris is a Marxist and a wannabe dictator. The guy you're calling dictator is treated them infinitely better and much more fairly than the Democratic Party. So let me ask you, Bill, do you think it's okay to be suing RFK Jr. and preventing him from getting on the ballot in places like New York and Pennsylvania and Michigan? Aren't you all for democracy? So why not let a third-party candidate contest the election? Your party has blocked them. Why are you censoring them? Why are you banning them? Why are you threatening them? Why are you intimidating them and their families? Why won't Biden give him Secret Service protection only until Trump was an attempted assassination? Why are they planting people to sabotage them from within? This is what fascists do. This is what totalitarian communists do. This is not what you do in a free country and in a free society. So, Bill, tell me, if he's such a non-factor, why are the Democrats so desperate to destroy his campaign? Can you explain that to me, Bill?
Less. I heard you say a lot of talking there, but I did not hear you say what you predict the effect would be.
Look,
Bill, I heard you do a lot of nice talking there.
Bill, it's my show. I ask the questions. You don't ask the questions. Now, as I said in the beginning, I'm going by the New York Times poll, just the New York Times poll. They say that if this endorsement takes place, the battleground states will flip decisively to Donald Trump. He will get a minimum 3 to 4% point bump, which was decisive. So I'm just going by what the polls say. But I've already answered that 15 times. I'm asking you a different question. The Democrats have used vicious, authoritarian, dictatorial tactics against RFK Jr. If he's such a non-threat, why are they doing it? Explain it to me.
Is a giant conspiracy against you. I mean, every single... If three
Bill,
people
can you
agree,
answer the question? Bill, can you answer my question, or I'm going to hang up on you?
It's the rhetorical device.
Do you support the Democrat tactics against RFK? This is what they're saying. And if they don't fear him, why are they trying to destroy him? Why are the Democrats trying to destroy RFK? Can you explain that for the last time? Go.
to the polls from the New York Times that were fake yesterday on your show, but now that they kind of show you something you like, you're pointing to them.
Emerson, Rasmussen, Associated Press.
But they were all fake like 2 days ago on your show. They were all fake on your show like 2 days ago, and now you're pointing to them.
Well, I'm pointing to you that the media is petrified because their polling shows.
I don't know why.
I don't need to use the polls. I'm giving you the courtesy of answering your question. So I don't need to use the polls. I can do basic math. If someone is getting 9 to 10% in the polls, and that's what he's getting, and he decides to endorse one of the two major candidates, it's a massive boost to that candidate. 2 + 2 = 4. Okay? So I'm not going to debate with you whether the sky is blue. Now let's move on. I'm asking you now a different question for the last freaking time. If the Democrats are not worried, then why are they trying to destroy RFK? Go.
Doesn't have to win, Jeff. He only has to pretend he won. You guys have lowered the bar.
Okay, bye,
So
Bill.
low.
Bye. You see, you can't have a debate. You can't answer a basic factual question. That's liberalism for you. That's the problem. That's why they have to do what they're doing in Chicago to appeal to idiots like this. Oh, the hope and change. Oh. So, so when Val says, Jeff, how do you deal with a liberal? Facts, the truth, common sense. It's like a cross to a vampire or garlic to a vampire. And then they're off into left field. Then they just spin their wheels and the tape is starting to unravel. As you can tell when Bill starts talking. Then he's going on about he can't answer your question because he knows the answer is obvious. If he wasn't a threat, they wouldn't be trying to destroy him. And he can't defend their tactics. So you just don't answer the question. Who can defend sabotaging a third-party candidate? And you're claiming to be the party of democracy. Checkmate. Mel in Pepperell. Thanks for holding, Mel.
Obama's not being called out about his insults and things like that. I mean, It's obvious that 90% of the press is favorable to Democrats. So when Trump does it, it's going to get a lot more exposure. And honestly, the Democratic base likes it. When Obama does it, it's going to fire up his base. They love it. Look at the riots and things like that. Conservatives, just being better people, are turned off by it. And I think that's the biggest thing is when a conservative hears Trump say, Flopadopoulos, or I'm entitled to personal attacks.
Mel, you're building up to. Oh, we lost Mel. Okay, Mel, if you can come back, if you can call back, I'd love to have you come back on, Mel. Finish your point. Mel says we're better people, and that's why when Trump does insults, it bothers us. The left, not so much. 8:50, almost 8:51 now on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, a lot of reaction coming in, both about the DNC and Obama's speech last night, as well as obviously now the looming potential imprisonment of Trump by Judge Juan Merchan. So this is Marianne on Messenger. Good morning, Jeff. Yes, the Democrats are desperate, but they are also extremely childish. And they are playing to their base of low information voters that love this type of rhetoric because their voters are unable to think critically. Well, you just saw the exchange between me and Bill and Sudbury. I mean, think about it. They're so in denial of reality. No, even if RFK endorses Trump, it's no impact. It's like, Hitler in the bunker. Okay, if you want to believe that, go ahead. I don't know what else to tell you. So millions of votes going to one candidate over another. Makes no difference. Okay, this is the mind that they're playing to. Anyway, I continue. Jeff, they are unable to think critically. So this propaganda is all they have. I pray to God that this time around, there are fewer low information voters and more that have been starting to critically think over the past 4 years when they look at their wallets. Bingo. And there's nothing that the last 2 days will improve with, what's in your wallet or what you pay at the grocery store or what you pay at the gas pump or what you pay for rent or your mortgage or what you pay for your monthly utility and energy bills. Nothing. Now, as for putting Trump behind bars, this is an absolutely brilliant point. And it's from 617. Jeff, the timing of RFK's endorsement is crucial. It needs to come on the afternoon before Comrade Kamala's acceptance speech. I agree. I completely agree. This will really throw off her speech. It'll take away all the momentum of her speech. And all the talk will now be, is Trump's victory inevitable, especially in those key battleground states? Now, this is another 617, and this is the one I really wanted to focus on. Mershon will 100% sentence Trump to Rikers in the hope that Trump's supporters demonstrate violently. I am sure that Obama's minions are ready to masquerade as Trump supporters and become violent. That's why the drumbeat at the convention is Trump is a violent dictator who must be stopped by any means. Bingo. I think there's no question that one of the reasons why they are trying to jail Trump is they want to incite or elicit a reaction among Trump supporters. They want us to do something violent so that they can portray us as terrorists, so that then they can brand us as a terrorist movement or as a threat to the country, and then either declare martial law or impose what they've always wanted, which is what Obama always wanted, which is a wide-scale crackdown. And so I think there's no question that's going into their thinking. And do I put it beyond the deep state, and especially these FBI undercover agents, to pose as Trump supporters? I bet even with white hoods and tiki torches and saying, Trump, 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 and then, start looting or rioting or, blowing up cars or burning up cars in order to say, look at this. Look what Trump supporters are on the streets. They're engaging in street violence and political terrorism. I wouldn't put anything beyond this criminal regime. That's why you don't do lawfare. That's why you don't have judges impose prison sentences 2 months before an election against the leading presidential candidate. This is direct election interference. And I don't think the Democrats fully understand that they're going to reap the whirlwind politically if they go down this road. The country will not accept a presidential candidate being locked up for blatantly political reasons. And again, this is all coming from the party of quote unquote democracy. David in Brookline. Thanks for holding, David, and welcome.
Morning, Jeff.
Hi, David.
And the cliche again, the Twilight Zone episodes get thicker and thicker. Debating with Bill is absolutely pointless other than to expose the fact that these people are brainwashed and there's absolutely no hope to get through to them. But you just made one of my points a moment ago. How can 6 months ago an endorsement have helped, but it won't help now when theoretically, at least we haven't made up any ballots yet. We haven't started manufacturing ballots yet. We don't know what the Democrats are doing. But even if RFK Jr. Had 5% of the Democratic vote, that doesn't include independents. I don't know, what's that about? 3 or 4 million votes based on the last election. So how could 3 or 4 million votes being cast on election day or leading up to it not be of help? There's all the evidence you need that these people are crazy.
Well, you nailed it. David, I promise I'll let you finish. Yep. No, I could have made that point as well, and you're dead on. I'm like, well, one vote technically hasn't been cast yet. So who cares if RFK endorses him? Frankly, to me, no, the RFK endorsement now, much more impactful than 6 months ago. Because in about a month, people are going to start voting. We still got presidential debates coming up. What are these people talking about? So, of course, if he endorses Trump now, it's at the worst possible moment for the Democrats. And the argument he couldn't rebut is, well, if it's so innocuous, if it's so, it'll have no impact whatsoever, then why are they trying to destroy his campaign? Why are they all melting down? Why are they trying to keep him off the ballot? And RFK has said repeatedly, it's Democrat lawyers. The Biden-Harris regime, they're blocking our access. They don't want us on the ticket in New York or Pennsylvania or Michigan or Wisconsin. It's not Trump. Trump hasn't filed one lawsuit against us. We want to get on the ballot. He doesn't care. But now all of a sudden it makes no difference. No, because they're scared. They're scared and they got to keep up the lie that the momentum's behind Kamala when it isn't. Now it's changed completely. So you're dead on, David. No, and look, just simple math. I mean, I know this is not Bill's strong suit. 2 + 2 = 4. You have a candidate that has the support of literally millions and millions and millions of voters. Many of them, by the way, in the key battleground states. And he's going to endorse, and his vice presidential nominee, who's a progressive. So a lifelong Democrat, diehard liberal, and Shanahan, a diehard progressive. And they're saying Kamala is so extreme and so radical, and frankly, so authoritarian and dictatorial. We're urging all liberals, Democrats, progressives, hold your nose, vote for Trump. Believe me, he's a hell of a lot better than the alternative. You're going to tell me that millions and millions of voters shifting to Trump, that's going to have no impact whatsoever? I guess if you're manufacturing 20, 30, 40 million votes, I guess if you're planning to steal it, and you're willing to, fabricate as many ballots as you need to win. But if it's going to be a free and fair election, and they keep telling us the election is safe, then this is it. It's the mother of all blows. And by the way, that's what everybody else in the world thinks. Everybody's reporting it's a fundamental game changer. But not Bill and Sudbury. Because you want to know the Hitler in the bunker type mentality? That's what he embodies. And that's the people at the convention. Those lemmings that cheer no matter what they say. That's the Bills in Sudbury. And the question is, are there more of us or are there more of them? David, please continue.
Points. In all these years, including at the convention, or any liberals that call, so-called liberals. I call them communists now, just like that's the word. What policy did President Trump put forward? Not whether you liked him or not. What policy has he ever put forth or talked about that's bad for America? One. Just one. Any liberal caller, call in, tell us. I'd like to hear it at their convention. And finally, Jeff, I cannot watch that convention. I have a blood pressure issue like you. I cannot watch an alter reality, watching trained SEALs clap and be brainwashed. But I heard one news clip, which I thought was rich. Hillary Clinton going on how if Trump was elected, he could use the FBI to go after his, I'm paraphrasing, his political opponents.
Talk about the pot calling the kettle black, David. I swear, you can't make this up. You just can't make it up. David, as always, thank you so much for that call. Okay, joining me now, as she always does at this time, Dr. Grace, putting liberals in their place. Grace Vuoto. She's got a fresh column out. Oh, it is a dagger, a political dagger aimed at the heart of Kamala Harris. It's called Kamala Harris, Enemy of Free Markets. And you can read it right now. We just posted it a couple hours ago on WRKO.com/Kuhner, Kuhn as in national ER, WRKO.com/Kuhner. Grace, how are you?
I am very well, Jeff. Thank you for having me.
Well, congratulations again on an absolutely outstanding column. RFK Jr., and we'll get to Kamala and the convention very soon, I promise. But first, RFK Jr. has now dropped a bombshell. He now says he is seriously considering dropping out of the race along with his VP, Nicole Shanahan. As you know, they're both, principled leftists. They're both people of the left. They're no conservatives, I'll tell you this. But they say the Democrats have now gone so far to the left. They have become so authoritarian and so politically thuggish that they say the country has no option but to support Donald Trump, and they are seriously considering dropping or quitting their bid, dropping out of the race, and endorsing Trump. What say you?
I think that they should drop out as soon as possible. They should join forces with Donald Trump because they are best poised right now to explain to the public the real Democratic Party. Right now, what we're hearing on the convention floor, and for the last few weeks, I call it sugar, sugar, candy, candy. They're giving us a utopian vision of what America is going to be when she is elected. And they're telling us everything that you would think someone wants to hear. So they are presenting Disneyland. That's really what this convention is. And the media is not challenging a lot of the preposterous premises that they are standing on. But somebody like RFK, he knows the dark side of the Democratic Party, especially coming from a family that has been celebrated within that party. So his voice would be extremely powerful to contrast the difference between the sugar, sugar candy that they're promoting and the darkness that they actually enact.
I take it you saw Michelle Obama's speech, Barack Obama's speech. They both played the race card heavy, especially Michelle Obama. Michelle Obama came out and said, maybe the presidency is, the ultimate black job, taking a shot at Trump and his comments about black jobs. And of course, Obama went on about Trump being a threat to democracy. Obama said that Trump is a political lunatic, a bomb thrower. He even made fun of his private parts. And the audience laughed and jeered. What did you make of both their speeches? And do you think they're going to turn black voters back to the Democratic Party?
Jeff, I got to say, I was really disappointed in both of their speeches. They have both lost their ability to deliver effectively. Michelle Obama was very obnoxious in her phraseology. I don't think she connected at all. I don't know what she's doing. Is she taking acting classes, poetry classes? I don't know what it is, but she was not speaking directly. And Obama was jittery. Obama was not looking straight at the camera. What surprised me the most is how much their political skills have declined. They've obviously been not very engaged, and they're just rusty. I don't think they were effective at all. Believe it or not, the person that I think was more effective for this election season was Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton actually delivered a very strong speech for her base, especially for female voters, especially to galvanize all those who had previously voted for her and expand that base. I don't think Michelle and Barack connect at all to people in general. I don't think they connect to black people anymore, and they certainly don't connect to the black working class.
overall, tonight's going to be night 3. We're already halfway past through the Democratic National Convention. Tonight is going to be night 3. Tim Walz is going to be accepting the vice presidential nomination. How do you feel the DNC is going so far?
Well, I think their production quality is outstanding. I think that I'm just amazed at how smooth it seems when you're watching it. The music is great. The energy level is great. And I get more and more disturbed as I watch it because what I'm seeing is a fantasy land being created. And my concern is that the low information voters are going to swallow this up whole because this fantasy land is not being regularly challenged by our media. And it's their job to expose all of this as a big, giant pot of lies.
What, in particular, if you don't mind me drilling down a bit, what's the fantasy that they have been peddling the last 2 nights?
Well, the fantasy is that Harris is going to solve the nation's problems, especially that she is a friend of the working class and that she is a promoter of freedom. And if you look at what's happened over the last few years, the economy has been very challenging for the working and the middle class. And that's what my column is all about, enemy of free markets. If you look at their record, everything they quote-unquote tried to fix, they actually ruined. They increased deficits. They have increased, obviously, as we know, inflation for everybody. Had they done nothing when they assumed office, the economy would have been better off. So all of their policies, these are facts. This is nothing to argue about. These are facts. Their policies did 2 things. They made it harder for working people to survive, to live, to have a disposable income on a regular basis, and they put more controls on the economy. They stifle the economy. So Harris does not understand entrepreneurship. She does not understand free markets. She does not understand freedom. And therefore, she is going to be devastating for the economic prospects of the American people. But the big lie that they're peddling is that somehow she's this great savior for our pocketbooks, when she clearly has not been. They have messed up the economy for most people.
Grace, let me ask you one final ultimate question. When you look at the race right now, and they're running essentially on an openly communist platform. She's talking about Soviet-style price controls. She says now that we need to have price controls on food production, on grocery stores. When you look at what she's offering, and Tim Walz, who has repeatedly, openly praised communist China and communism itself, saying it's the greatest system and ideology in the world, and I'm going to blow that wide open tomorrow after his speech tonight. Do you believe that this radical left-wing ticket can win in November?
Unfortunately, I think it can win in November because the voices that are sounding the alarm are not large enough. They're not big enough. There's not enough of them. Trump needs to seize this talking point. Jeff, you are brilliant in exposing her. He needs to take these talking points and be consistent and stay on message. And the media, especially at least the conservative media, needs to do the same. Instead, our media is scattered. It's not focused. Their media is in lockstep with their party. So the question is the truth going to get out? And that's my grave concern.
We have been talking with Grace Vuoto, Dr. Grace, putting liberals in their place. Full disclosure, yes, I married up my wonderful wife. Please check out her column. Trust me, it's absolutely brilliant. It is, you want to know what Kamala Harris stands for? It's Kamala Harris, Enemy of Free Markets, by Grace Vuoto. It is up right now, WRKO.com/Kuhner, Kuhn as in National ER, WRKO.com/Kuhner. Grace, we'll talk next week, same time, same place. Your reaction next, 9:20 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266 6868 is the number. Okay, couple lines are open if you want to jump on. Harry in the great state of Maine. Thanks for holding, Harry, and welcome.
How you doing, buddy?
Very good. How are you, Harry?
Excellent. Jeff, just a couple of points. I, too, was very concerned about a week and a half ago about the upcoming sentencing for Trump. And last week, on another show, I happened to see Andrew McCarthy. You know who he is, the attorney that's former federal prosecutor.
Yes.
And he spoke at length. So I want to put all your listeners to a little bit of ease this morning. He said that while Trump can be sentenced to jail, he won't serve a day. The reason being is, in that type of a case, the accused is free on appeal or free on appeal based on the sentencing date. So it could take 2 more years for it to go back to trial for an appeal. But based on the appeal alone, he's free to walk from the courthouse. So he's not going in Rikers or prison and serve a day. That's not going to happen. My second point is that this whole thing, Jeff, he likely will be sentenced, but this is just obviously for effect. Look at all the previous charges and accusations. It's worn thin over the last several months. Yes, he's been convicted. Yes, they raided Mar-a-Lago. How did that end up going? So to me, it's all for effect, and it's totally diluted at this point. The second point I want to make, as far as I'm concerned, I haven't really watched from start to finish the DNC. I just can't get through it. It's just so obnoxious. But in my opinion, based on the speakers that have already spoken, you have AOC, Hillary Clinton, the 2 Obamas, for example. I got to give them their due. They're pretty good speakers. They're pretty good orators. I don't like any of them. I despise AOC, but my point is that when you compare that quality of a speaker to Tim Walz, who to me is just Howard Dean II, and to Kamala Harris, anytime I've seen her speak, aside from word salads, she just doesn't come across as genuine. She comes across as a comedian, flowery. She doesn't have a serious tone. Even when she went out to NATO and met with the NATO allies, she just doesn't seem to possess or transmit any type of strong credibility or seriousness in her tone. So I think it's going to be anticlimactic when you get to tonight and especially tomorrow. I think the DNC basically, they shot their best people forward in the first. I use a different expression, but I'm going to reserve that. But I think basically, you know what I'm saying? I think they kind of...
They fired their bolt. No, I hear you, Harry. They fired their bolt. Look, I'm going to make a prediction. You can hold me to it. They're going to get no bounce out of this convention. Normally there's a bit of a sugar high, a bit of a boost, a bit of a bounce. They're not going to get any bounce out of this. Really, this is the definite... What you're watching now is really all sizzle, no steak. This is... You want to talk about style over substance. And it's a party. It's just one giant party. It's the Bills in Sudbury and the Bens in North Andover and the Chris's in Gloucester. I'm being serious. The low info voters, okay, these diehard fanatics get together in Chicago and they're just laughing and eating and drinking and partying and rapping. And they brought this rapper in yesterday. And, and it doesn't matter what Obama says. It doesn't matter what Hillary says. They just, or Waltz or Harris, and they're just yucking it up with their stupid phrases, fight, 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 freedom, freedom, freedom. And it's not resonating with ordinary people. Because let me tell you what ordinary people are living every day. A massive influx of illegal immigration. It's affected now every city, every state, even here in Massachusetts. The big story is how many Democrats in mass are saying we can't take in one more illegal. Like literally, we cannot take in one more illegal. The shelter system is overwhelmed. The hotels, the motels, everything. The state budget is now overwhelmed. So what if they addressed that? They haven't even touched it. It's like it doesn't exist. People are living with crime on a daily basis. It's getting worse. They haven't touched it. I live with inflation every day. Almost everybody lives with, the Obamas don't, the Hillarys don't because they stole so much money. But most ordinary people, I live with high inflation every single day. High grocery bills, high gas. Here, Again, I put $50 in my tank, Harry, yesterday. I picked up Ashton. Okay, he was out with his friends fishing. I picked him up fishing. I had to stop off. I was near empty. I put in $50 in my tank. 50. It barely got to half a tank. Half a tank on $50. Like, this is insane. This is unsustainable. So, you can't eat, what they're selling. You can't pay your bills with what they're selling. So they can go on about hope and change and, the first female president and minority president and on and on and on. People look at this and saying, how is this going to make the country better? How is this going to make my life better? How is this going to make my community better? My family better? They have nothing to offer except more of the same. And what's lurking behind this convention is the fact that Biden, Harris have been the worst administration. This has been the worst presidency in American history. And as I told Grace last night, this is their problem. You can put lipstick on a pig. It's still a pig. Now, they're putting a ton of lipstick and eyeliner, they're doing everything they can to dress up this pig. It's still a pig. Oink, oink. 9:32 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, the media is gushing, fawning over both Michelle Obama, Marxist Michelle's speech, and of course that of the dear leader, Barack Hussein Obama. Listen now to Michelle Obama. Listen to show you the level of lies, the manipulation, and honestly, how stupid the people in the convention center have to be. Listen now to the BS that they were selling them and trying to sell the country. Here's Marxist Michelle, roll cut 12. Mike.
You see, my mom, in her steady, quiet way, lived out that striving sense of hope every single day of her life. She believed that all children, all people have value, that anyone can succeed if given the opportunity. She and my father didn't aspire to be wealthy. In fact, they were suspicious of folks who took more than they needed. They understood that it wasn't enough for their kids to thrive if everyone else around us was drowning.
Okay. So, in other words, it's socialism. God forbid you should have more than someone else. No, you don't take more than you need. Really? You mean the Obamas, who are now worth about $1 billion? $70 million just in home assets? 4 luxury mansions. Not 1, not 2, not 3. 4 luxury mansions. Combined worth just the mansions. She's got a private jet. This woman flies all over the world. She shops in Paris and Milan and is back in Chicago for dinner. The mansion they got in Washington, $8.1 million. The one on the Vineyard, I believe, don't quote me on this, I think we're looking at, what is it, over 10 million plus? So you're looking at people who have 4 dachas, obscenely wealthy, and they're telling us, you really shouldn't have more than what you need. You phony, you fraud, you BSer, you. As I told someone last night, the Obamas and the Clintons are the biggest grifters and con men I have ever seen in my life. You want to talk about street hustlers. That's all they are. Now, you want to talk about another con and another fraud and another hustler. So, Listen now to this. Okay? You want to talk about phoniness. Lying through their teeth. Brazenly lying. Listen now to the dear leader. Barack Obama. Roll cut 7. Mike.
And looking back, I can say without question that my first big decision as your nominee turned out to be one of my best. And that was asking Joe Biden to serve by my side as vice president.
Look at these idiots. You mean the guy you called the F up? That guy? The guy that you relentlessly mocked and ridiculed at cabinet meetings for being so stupid and so incompetent? When you would joke and say, if you want to F something up, you know who to call. You mean the guy that you said, Joe, don't run in 2016. Joe, don't run in 2020. As he put it, Joe, you don't have to do this, Joe. But there's more. Listen to Obama. Roll cut 7A. Mike.
Joe and I come from different backgrounds, but we became brothers. And as we worked together for 8, sometimes pretty tough years, what I came to admire most about Joe wasn't just his smarts, his experience. It was his empathy and his decency and his hard-earned resilience, his unshakable belief that everyone in this country deserves a fair shot.
So if he's this wonderful guy, who's this wonderful, incredible, successful president, why did you push him out? Remember, it was Obama who put the knife into Joey. Et tu, Barack. Obama, Pelosi, Hakeem Jeffries, and Chuck Schumer. The 4 horsemen of Biden's apocalypse. But it was the dear leader who led and orchestrated it. He and Pelosi led the charge. So what about Joe Biden's fair shot? He won the nomination. He got 14 million votes. He won 87% of the voters in the primary. So how come he's not speaking on Thursday night? Instead, you put him up at midnight on Monday night. I'll tell you why. Because you removed him in a coup. Because he was so freaking incompetent. You said, we're all going to go down, throw this guy overboard. Now, you want to talk about the height of phoniness and hypocrisy. He stabs you in the back. He overthrows you in a coup. He utterly humiliates you. And this is what he says about you to the public. Roll cut 7C. Mike.
History will remember Joe Biden as an outstanding president who defended democracy at a moment of great danger. And I am proud to call him my president, but I am even prouder to call him my friend.
Some friend. I mean, if you call him your friend, what the hell do you call your enemy? I mean, the bull crap. You know what I really want to say? Can you stack it that high? You overthrow him. You topple him. You overturn democracy. You overturn the primary. You screw this guy 6 ways to Sunday. You utterly, publicly emasculate and humiliate him. And then he's like, he was a great president, but we can't let him run again. He was my dear friend. Oh, but I really screwed him. He saved democracy. Well, we kind of overthrew the election there. But you know what I'm saying? Hey, we got to get Kamala in there. Come on now. Here's why Trump's going to win. Everyone is seeing through this convention. Everyone can see that the Democrats have nothing. Tim Walz is a loser. Kamala Harris is even a bigger loser. They are just talking to themselves. This is an echo chamber. This is one massive party. That's all it is. This is not serious. They're not winning over independents. They're not winning back disillusioned Democrats. They're not going to peel back moderate voters or get more of the black vote. They're not going to win back minority groups that they've lost, like the Latinos. What you're seeing now is the dying gasp of a dying regime. And they're trying to pin Trump as a racist. And so this time it blew up in their face. You can see now that now the attacks no longer work. Trump yesterday held a magnificent event in Howell, Michigan. But Howell, Michigan had a few members of the Ku Klux Klan who came out last year for some kind of a protest. So what do you think the media was trying to make out of it? And they tried to pin it on Trump and stamp him with the label of KKK and white supremacy. And he threw it right back in their face. Listen now to this. It was a thing of beauty. Roll cut 19A, Mike.
Thank you, everybody, very much. Thank you for coming.
Who was here in 2021?
Nobody.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Brilliant. The reporter says Kamala Harris's campaign is attacking you for going to the very town that there was a white supremacy meeting last year. And of course, everybody in the town resents it because you have a couple of crazy KKK guys and suddenly that represents the whole town. And he says, okay, well, who was here a couple of years ago in 2021? Well, Joe Biden. There you go. Even the police officers that were providing security were laughing and clapping. Trump's going to win. 50 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Andy in Milford. Thanks for holding, Andy, and welcome.
Hey, how you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing great. How are you, Andy?
Oh, doing very well. Doing very well. Hey, I have not been watching the DNC, but I heard the reports about President Obama's speech and remarks there. And I'm actually seeing one fatal flaw where they very well might have lost the middle voters, the voters in the middle who are not particularly radical one way or another, who are still trying to make up their mind about this thing. And just to tee this up, okay, we had our nation's 44th president, Barack Obama, at a national convention, essentially making a derogatory joke about the size of a political opponent's Johnson.
That's right.
Now, Jeff, I want you to think back to the time period where you're Ava and you're Ashton, where we'll say around 5-6 years old. And just, during that time, you and Grace were deciding, what you would sit down and watch together as a family. Is this the kind of thing that you in good conscience could allow to even be in your living room?
No. Absolutely not. It was disgusting. It was vulgar. It was obscene. It was childish, to be honest. But it's a massive turnoff. And only in front of a rabid Democratic crowd could you get the kind of laughter you got. But to most normal Americans, they looked at that and they said, "This guy's sick." That's my honest opinion, Andy. That's why I'm telling you, so far this DNC is a bust. Night one was a bust. It was way too long. It dragged on and on and on. It was disjointed. It was all about Joe Biden, and the guy ends up finishing his speech at 12:30 in the morning when half the country's asleep. And then you had that fiasco last night. Andy, I'm telling you, this is a horrible convention for them.
100%. And the thing is, that's where a lot of these middle voters that are still trying to make up their mind about this thing, who are married, family, young kids growing up, they see this kind of thing, they just lost them. And actually, and for that matter, this is why it's going to be in President Trump's interest to start having a little bit of discipline on the stump and make a shift away from directly calling Kamala Harris stupid, because that's something on our side of the football that's going to turn off this same block of voters.
Andy, thank you very, very much for that call. I really appreciate it. Cassandra in the great state of North Carolina. Thanks for holding, Cassandra, and welcome.
Thank you, Kuhner Nation. Jeff, I agree with that gentleman, what he said, because I didn't watch the DNC because I knew it was going to be a chaos, which is a bunch of people who has too much money in their pocket talking points. And it's craziness. And I like what that gentleman just said, that President Trump needs to discipline himself. Don't talk about her anymore. She's irrelevant. The woman is irrelevant. The issues, what he did yesterday was awesome at the town meeting for crime. He nailed it. He was poised. He was talking along the line what he needs to do for the country. Leave the Democrats alone. Stop calling them crazy, losers, morons. No. We don't need to hear those words. That's why some of the independents don't want to hear that. They want to hear the issues. He's got the vote of the people. He's got the election. That's what I'm praying for. And I pray for more chaos tonight and tomorrow night for the alphabet lady to mess up in her speech. That is what we want. We want this DNC to go in the books as the worst DNC this country ever seen. You couldn't even, I remember the RNC, the color red, white, and blue was all over the room. It was so beautiful. The joy on the street. You don't see that. All you see the people with regular clothes, laughing, partying, and dancing. I'm like, what is this? I don't remember seeing those things during Clinton.
No, you're right. And hating Trump. It's a hate fest. All they do is hate him, call him insults, attack him, vilify him, demonize him. Cassandra, you're completely right. And I agree with you on Michigan. Trump was magnificent. If he sticks to the issues and he sticks to policy, with this endorsement potentially coming from RFK Jr., it's game over. I'm telling you, he's going to win. I got to go. Bye-bye.